There's something about this lens that just feels cinema. This lens, this is the Sirui VP1 or Vision Prime 1 lens, and this is the 35mm at t1.4, meaning very shallow depth of field. Sorry, my desk is a mess. Let me fix that for you. Yeah, this is my first time in a while actually filming a YouTube video. I'm looking at myself on the monitor and I don't know, it looks quite nice, but I want to add some more color. It's looping. Now we need to fix color. Gotta re-download the app. How's your guys' days going? Let me know in the comments. All right, let's stick with that and get into the rest of this little review here of the Sirui VP1 35mm T1.4. Wow, that's a mouthful. Just gonna leave that there. So firstly, my name is Jed Konda and I'm a photographer, videographer, and content creator at the moment, posting on Instagram and TikTok. And lately I've been into diving into the rabbit hole of filmmaking and like gear, as always. You know, once you enter that photography world of gear and the videography world, it just keeps going deeper and deeper and more expensive all the time. But anyways, yeah, Sirui did send me this lens and they're not seeing this video. This is just my own opinions about it, my feelings about it after using it for about, yeah, almost a month, like three to 4 weeks now. And I gotta say, this has like reignited my passion for filmmaking, I must say. And it's definitely a bit of a learning curve because this is a manual focus lens, as most cine lenses are. But in saying that, it does have its own character and its own qualities that are quite amazing. I have a Sony cap on the back, but this is not a Sony lens. This is a Sirui lens. If Sony did make lenses, it probably would be like this. Like it's all that very compact, very small, very light type of thing, and also very sharp. Basically a main trait of like cinema lenses. So yeah, I want to tell you my thoughts about this and whether you should get this lens or not. Let's get on with the video. So the first thing I want to talk about is build quality. This thing is like, it's full metal. Listen to this. How else am I going to test the metalness of this thing? Full metal build, very sturdy, and it even has a weather sealing gasket on the back. You're not worried about it as much in the rain, as most of the Sony gear I use is kind of weather sealed a little bit, so it can handle the elements, the wet elements. It is a 67mm thread, which is very convenient because a lot of my lenses are 67mm, like this 85mm I have on this, and then the 24mm I'm shooting on right now is all 67mm. So a lot of my ND filters will fit on this lens very easily. Look at that, beautiful. So the 67mm thread for filters, and then for matte boxes, it's a 72mm diameter. So if you can see that right there, it says 72. I don't know if it's gonna focus. 72mm at a perimeter, very nice. And then yeah, it has a very long focus throw for manual focusing. It's like, I believe, I'm not entirely sure, I forgot what it is right now, but if I do remember in post, I'll let you know on the screen the focus throw on this. And yeah, it goes from T1.4 all the way to T16. And T1.4, if you're used to f-stops instead of t-stops, t-stops are much more accurate. T-stop is the actual transmitted light entering the sensor, so it's much more accurate, while f-stop is like more of a guess. Like it measures the it indicates theoretically how much light enters the sensor, but it's not an accurate representation. So some f-stops between different types of lenses, say ranging from like different brands, Canon to Fuji, Nikon, Sony, whatever, what actually enters the sensor may differ between all of them, but t-stops generally more accurate, which just makes them more reliable when using different lenses and if you want to maintain the same type of exposure throughout all your scenes. So that is one of the things that make a cinema lens more special than your regular photography lens. Then another thing I quite enjoy about this lens is the lack of focus breathing. So focus breathing is when you zoom in. I'll see if this lens actually has some focus breathing. You'll have to pay attention to the edges, and what you'll see is that when something gets closer or further away from the lens, when it's trying to focus, the edges will move. It feels like the lens is actually moving forward and backwards. While with this lens, a cinema lens, it actually does not move very much, if any. It's very, very small, the amount of focus breathing that has in this, which is very nice to see. Because in that type of movement, that slow movement may take away from what you're filming. If you don't want any movement, if you just want the natural look of focusing from something close to something far. So focus breathing on this thing, very minimal. And then one of the other things I notice about this lens, which I quite enjoy, is probably is one of the first things I notice, is that the contrast when filming in direct sunlight. You have a source of light entering straight into the lens, it still maintains very good contrast on your subject. So the black points in your image stay quite dark. As you can see in this footage here, I actually quite enjoy this feature a lot because you don't want that too much of a flare when you're filming into light sources. You still want to have those light elements, add a little bit of interest, but then in the shadows and everything like that, it still appears dark. It's all personal preference, of course, but for me personally, when I first tried it out and I noticed that, I was quite pleased with it. So that's another thing I quite enjoy about this lens. Holds very good contrast, even shooting in direct sunlight. And then when also shooting in direct sunlight, that means you're gonna get flares. And this, I don't know, I've actually never noticed flares that much in my filmography and photography. Whenever flares happen, I'm just accept it. It's a flare. A lot of lenses have it, but this one does have very small lens flaring. So if that's something you care about, this is what they look like. I don't mind them. Yeah, lens flare is a lens flare, I see it in movies and sometimes it adds to it. And if you don't like it, well, you gotta find a lens that doesn't have that much lens flaring. But yeah, this very minimal lens flaring, I feel, and even the lens flare that do appear, I do like the way it looks. And the next thing about this lens that I noticed about it, which I quite enjoy, because I like to do macro photography. This is definitely not a macro lens, but it does have a very satisfying, a very decent minimal focus distance. So I can go quite close to my subject. Even at that very low aperture of t1.4, you still get great sharpness in your image. So I can go very close to my subject, get that very nice bokeh in the background, and still have whatever I want to be in focus quite sharp. So this is a very sharp lens. I'd compare it to any of my G Master lenses, really. The image that comes out of this, very quite pleased. On paper, it says that the minimal focus distance is 30 centimeters. I thought that was gonna be a bit far because that's like a ruler size, which is about that long, something like that. But then when I actually use the lens, it's actually about this far from the lens, minimal focus distance. Let's see if I can actually test this out. Let's do a real life test of the minimal focus distance on this thing. So that far away right now of my character right here is in focus. So that is I feel like that's a very good focus distance for this type of lens, if you wanted a visual representation. So if you want to get quite close and personal to your subjects, get those emotions that they're seeing in their faces, getting a bit close up to their eyes, viewing the world, you can get a very close distance to your subject. Now, for one of the biggest things I feel needs to be said about this lens is the first of all, I forgot to say this. I need to mention this at the start, so let's rewind back. Okay, so a big main feature of this thing is that this lens mount is actually interchangeable between different camera brands. So this is, at the moment, it is put on for Sony E mounts, but you can change the back of the lens to fit most of the other mirrorless lens mounts. Well, say that very fast. Mounts that will work on this is the Sony E mounts, the Canon RF mounts, the Nikon Z mount, and the L mount. So if you have any of those type of cameras, these lenses will work on them. You just need to change the mount, which they supply when you actually get these lenses, and with the toolkit as well, or the screw that you need in order to change the back of the lens, which is very handy and very thoughtful of ZeroWay. I'm not entirely sure if at checkout you can configure which lens mount you want to be on the lens. When I got it, it was already the E mount lens, but it does work for the other type of mount if that is your type of camera. And this last thing that I needed to talk about of this lens is the learning curve. This also depends, since this is a manual lens, there is a bit of a learning curve in order to use this type of lens, having to manual focus and everything. So there's two ways that I've been doing in order to make sure that my subject is in focus, and that's been peaking and the magnification. Peaking is basically, it shows this red border around whatever it is that's in focus on your camera. So on the Sony here, you just go to your settings and you go down here to peaking, and eventually once you see that, you turn it on and you can change the border to what color you want it to be. I changed it to red. That just seems very visible. So that's how I've been focusing with this lens. And then basically learning how to use this lens in manual focus has actually been quite fun. It has slowed down my filmmaking process, but it also makes me focus on actually capturing nice images. And I have been capturing actually very nice images with this lens. That just excites me. Focusing more on composition and getting just some very nice, beautiful images. Because the bokeh on this thing, I don't know what it is about it. I can just feel it, and I guess I can see it a little bit. But yeah, the bokeh on this lens just feels different to my other lenses that I've been using, my other Sony lenses. It just feels more, I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it's cinematic. But yeah, you can decide what you feel out of these images, if you can even tell a difference. But for me, I can definitely feel that there's a difference in the bokeh. And maybe it's just the tier 1.4 aperture that just makes it like very beautiful. Just that whole difference between what's in focus and what's out of focus. But yeah, very sharp lens, very beautiful bokeh. The whole learning curve of using a manual lens, it didn't take that long, but you just use peaking or 2x magnification focus. Otherwise, you do have to get some sort of manual focus system. There's one DJI focus system that uses LiDAR and everything, and that just basically makes any manual lens an autofocus lens, which would be pretty cool to have. And since I'm starting to use these type of lenses, maybe that's something I'll invest in. But yeah, still either way, as most, like, depends on the shot really. If you have something that's not moving that much and you're using peaking, 2x magnification, you'll generally get a sharp image out of it. Otherwise, you can even stop down to like, but once you stop down to like T2.8, it is definitely more sharper in those T stops. And you also don't get that vignette that happens when you stop down to a very fast aperture. So here, Tier 1.4, it gets a bit dark on the corners, but once you go up a bit higher, it all evens out a lot more. Oh my gosh, I've been talking for 23 minutes. But yeah, those are my thoughts on this lens. Who's this for? If you're already making videos, you want to shoot in low light and want like a very fast aperture and want something that's sharp, light, compact, this is a very good contender. I would definitely recommend this. Anything bad about it that I have to say? I'm going to be honest, the only bad thing I'll say about this is that it's not autofocus, but that's just me coming off cameras and lenses that all use autofocus. But the learning curve of learning manual focus, it's great. And like, I don't do that much cinematography projects, but I have heard that the numbers are a bit dark on the blue end, so you can't really see the blue numbers. So if you needed to actively track the numbers, yeah, the numbers do need to be maybe a lighter blue, I guess, on these lenses. But other than that, this feels like a very smooth ring. Both rings are very smooth, I'd say. And because, yes, I do come off Sony lenses, there is the whole, you can toggle a switch and the actual aperture won't move at all. Maybe that will be a cool feature to add to this, but maybe that's just for photography lenses, and cinema lenses shouldn't have that. I'm not entirely sure, but either way, I love the images that come out of this thing. And if you're interested in it, I'll have a link in my bio. If you use the code in the description, you'll get 5% off. For the price that it is for a cinema lens, great price, 100%, because they go up there, the prices of these things. But yeah, those are my thoughts on this. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe. Hopefully, I want to do this more often. I love gear, I love photography, videography, I love capturing nice images. And if that's something that's more of your vibe, if you want to be able to follow along on this journey, hey, just like and subscribe. I just want to have you here for a good time, maybe for a long time, I don't know. But hey, it's been good talking with you guys. It's been good talking to the camera. This is my first time in a while actually just talking to the camera. So hey, it's pretty cool, pretty cool. I'm gonna say goodbye now, and if you're still here just hanging out, hey man, it's good to hang out. How's your day going again? Anyways, I need to make some Instagram videos. Whew. All right, peace out.